वर्णानामर्थसङ्घानां रसानां छन्द सामपि मङ्गलानां च कर्तारौ वन्दे वाणी विनायकौ.
Breathe out with your chest coming forward first. Melt into the thigh of your straightened leg. Come back up with your arms first. And breathe out. Namaste. I'm Nidhi, and I'm a yoga instructor here in the US. The reason I'm speaking to you today is because I recently came across a startling fact that was brought to my attention by my Israeli student, Kavi.
On my last trip to Israel, I went to visit the Holocaust Museum, and I was looking at all the maps there, and the Jews were being persecuted all over the world, except for one place, India. India was the only place that offered them refuge. And not only that, they offered them respect and dignity, which was amazing.
And I was very proud to hear so. But when she asked me, why is it? To be honest with you, I had no clue. But later I found out that the answer lies here, in yoga. The more you understand yoga, the more you can understand the Indian culture and civilization. Isn't that strange? But let's explore why.
सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादि हेतवे तापत्रये विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः. लेत सदा सुधि दीन की सहज दया के धाम.
Shri Krishna is traditionally known as the illuminator of yoga. India has a vast wealth of yogic knowledge. Several streams of yoga flow in it. These people are practicing a small part of Hatha Yoga. Today, yoga has become a shared legacy of humanity. It is a vibrant part of the alternative health system. Yoga is not found in any other civilizations of the world. It originated and evolved in India. It gave rise to a civilization whose perception of life was not fragmented. Because of its holistic worldview, yoga has been integrated in Indian civilization. Therefore, without understanding Indian civilization, yoga cannot be understood completely. To understand our existence on earth, we need to understand the ancient civilizations. All ancient civilizations are a shared legacy of the human race. Lost civilizations are a great loss to humanity. eminent psychologist and neurologist Sigmund Freud studied ancient civilizations to uncover the layers of the mind. In this London house, many of his archaeological collections are displayed. With these, he tried to understand the human mind. His theory has been surpassed today, but neuroscientists are still exploring ancient cultures and civilizations to understand the mind. Dr. Ramachandran is a world-renowned neuroscientist. He has done commendable research on brain function. He also studies arts and aesthetics to understand the mind. He says that the biggest difference between man and animal is the continuity of culture.
A special case of the environment affecting the brain and behavior directly and being transmitted in one generation is, of course, culture. And to acquire culture, to acquire new forms of behavior, new attitudes, you require imitation learning, the ability to adopt another person's point of view and engage in imitation and emulation. These are traits which are seen in many other primates, but especially well developed in humans. So this led to this ability to imitate, emulate, and implement these skills that you've acquired by just watching. Seems like we take it for granted because it's so effortless, but it's vital for the evolution of culture, development of culture. This is what happened, I think, was a big step in human evolution. One of the many big steps that led early hominids to evolve the remarkable abilities that you see in modern humans now. So the evolution of culture is very much a human phenomenon. Characteristic of human culture is the continuity.
Thousands of years of cultural continuities have developed our present mind. They have also developed the present treasures of knowledge. The flow of knowledge happened with the continuities of cultures. The flow of knowledge also happened with the exchanges between different cultures. Indian knowledge first reached the Arab world and Turkey, and then Europe. The scientific knowledge that developed in Europe had inputs from the Egyptian and Greek civilizations. Without this combined effort, humanity could not have achieved the present state in science. Man's spacewalk is not a result of a sudden jump in our intellect. We have evolved gradually over millions of years. This evolution has taken place both in nature and in human beings. The technique of evolution of man by himself is yoga. Today we are doing a lot of yoga, but it is not directed towards our evolution. Thus, humanity has been deprived of the benefits of this great legacy. Why did this happen? This happened because the civilization of yoga was attacked and several practices were lost. We need to understand the destruction of civilizations so that our present civilization is not destroyed again. The creation of civilization is inherent in human nature, so is its preservation and destruction. The three attributes of nature, or Prakriti, are Sattva, Raja, and Tama. All are present in every human being. Creation by Sattva and destruction by Tama is present in all human beings. It was only in India that people overcame destructive tendencies through prolonged and rigorous tapas, or penance. Because of this, Indian civilization has survived and continues to exist even today. Only in India were there long lineages of kings and sages who practiced the technique of controlling the mind. Now, all those lineages have been lost. Only their poignant remnants are seen. India's greatest libraries went up in smoke with the burning of universities like Nalanda. The destruction of ancient Indian culture began with the Muslim invasion in medieval times and culminated with looting by European colonizers. The cruelty of Tamas and the greed of Rajas of the invaders destroyed many glories of ancient Indian civilization. Once the wealthiest country in the world, India was not like this. Many foreign travelers and medieval historians wrote that they did not have enough words to describe the immense wealth and grandeur of Indian cities and temples. The splendid creativity, the scientific knowledge, and the art of the Indians left the Middle Eastern and European travelers awestruck with admiration. Seeing India's boundless natural resources and the immense possibilities of its trade, European colonizers coveted her dazzling riches. Some 18th century accounts say that the Europeans were disillusioned by the uninspiring life of Europe. When they saw India's enchanting richness, it became their hunting ground. Portuguese, Dutch, French, and British colonizers robbed the most beautiful creations and wealth of the world's greatest civilization. When they left, they had ruined that Bharat, which they called India, which had once traded with the Greeks, Romans, and Arabs. Overlooking what united India's culture, despite differences in religion, they divided Punjab and Bengal on religious lines. Tens of millions had perished before India's partition. Millions more died during partition. An Islamic state was carved out of India's soil. Many of the roots of Islamic terrorism sweeping the world today lie buried in the partitioned part of India. The Europeans, believing in the supremacy of their religion and race, plundered the world and destroyed the legacy of many cultures. They destroyed the cultural identities of native people, mocked traditional systems of knowledge, and exploited their economic wealth, often causing complete destitution. Africa was divided on the table arbitrarily. Today, those divided cultures are still bleeding. Native Americans were brutally exterminated by bullets, killed by blankets, infected with infectious diseases. Their land was captured, breaking hundreds of treaties. Australia was overrun by killing the natives. But many Western scholars spend their lives proclaiming that their race is the only protector of justice, truth, and human rights in the world. That they are the illuminators of civilizations on earth. That they are the progenitors of the countries. That they alone gave democracy to India. That their Aryan ancestors brought Sanskrit and Vedas into India. That the Greeks taught maths and philosophy to the world.
You can see the bias there. That is the reason. And when you are reading these books, you don't even notice the bias because there's one statement here, one statement there, one statement there, one statement. When you take all these statements together and put it up on one slide, then you see, there's something going on here. There's bias. There's bias against everything. And I have to take my hat off to Rajiv Malhotra. He's the first person to make noise about it. And he has taken a lot of flack for it. A lot of criticism, even from other Indian. They say that he is politicizing things and bringing politics into academia. That may be true, but actually the academia itself is already politicized. And I know this very well because I go to many meetings in, say, University of Chicago. Before I was at Harvard. I was a senior visiting fellow there. So I have seen with my own eyes.
New excavations are pushing back the dates of Indian civilization further back, while Western scholars are trying to prove that they are of a much later period. This is done to help them prove that most achievements of ancient India actually originated in the West.
The main reason for manipulating chronology is the motive to manipulate the cause of things. So if you want to show foreign cause of Indian things, you got to have a chronology. So all the manipulation of chronology, do not think it is innocent. Do not think that this is being done just as a matter of accidental. There is always a political motive in manipulating chronology. The chronology of events is very important in understanding a civilization, because the chronology goes cause, effect. Cause always comes before the effect. You cannot have a cause with an effect before it. So if I want to change the understanding of why something happened, what was the cause, I may have to manipulate the chronology. And that is where the mischief comes in. So for instance, if the Abrahamic people wanted to show that their idea of origin of time and the beginning of Moses and onwards, and the what happened in their chronology and their history, they want to fit the whole world into that, because they want to show that theirs is the origin of all of mankind and everything, all the influence came from there. So they have to force others to fit into their chronology. This is the agenda. This is the big agenda. So when they discovered India, or for them it was a very big thing, and they had not understood there's so much knowledge here, they wanted to fit it into their framework, and therefore they had to improvise when the so-called Aryans must have come to fit into their chronology. When the Gita was written, Mahabharata could not be older than their text. How could it be? Because it would destroy their entire claim. They did the same thing in South America. Now the archaeologists are saying that the natives of America, the Native Americans, have been there for 20,000 years. So you see, the dates of many civilizations are far older than the biblical times.
Their tendency of calling the facts of Indian history a myth and describing ancient Indian philosophies as primitive speculations is growing bigger. This is distorting the history of Indian civilization. Many civilizations have been destroyed in this way.
Now, myth is a very dangerous term to use, because myth says that this didn't even happen and you just made it up. So that invalidates the whole authenticity of a civilization. I'm really against those who interpret all our itihas as myth. We should consider itihas as a non-translatable and just say itihas. So some of the physical evidence got destroyed by invaders. That's history being destroyed. We never went anywhere to destroy their history, but people came here to destroy ours. And so after destroying the physical evidence, after destroying the centers of learning where this itihas is kept alive, it's easy for them to say it's all myth. But it's very important for us to reject the myth and reclaim the truth of our tradition.
Today, the history of India has become a battleground with India's identity at stake. This destruction has endangered the real yoga, which was a unique technique for human evolution. Let us come together and safeguard the rich traditions of Indian civilization and the life-giving legacy of yoga. What we call yoga today is just a small part of Hatha Yoga, involving asana, pranayam and mudra.
So everybody were made to do asanas, which all the historical background will give you that it was compulsory for everyone.